Happy Sunday, everyone. This is Greg Dixon with the Note Center, and I'm here with Larry Hoffman at LarryBuysNotes.com. There we go. And so we're talking about, I've been talking to a number of real estate investors about passive mechanisms. So like to be a skilled note investor or skilled at anything takes a lot of work, but sometimes you just want your money to grow. So one of the things is to find an investment where you put in your 10,000, 20,000, whatever it is, 2.5 million, whatever your budget is, and and you get a guaranteed return. So Larry has a background. He did some, he's done a number of things over time, but he was doing flipping, buying houses, and then that led him to doing what he does now, is mostly with the notes. So maybe you can tell us a bit about yourself, Larry, and what your journey has been, and why you think notes are a great thing. And also the premise of this show is you're offering a monthly session, live session, where you can
Right.
review the investment opportunities and then ask your questions and decide if it's for you.
Yep.
So, do you want to go on and introduce yourself again, and just a little bit of your background and how you got to where you are now?
Yep. Yeah, for sure. Hey, Greg, thanks first for having me on. I really appreciate it. Man, let's see. I've been investing since 2006. I started off back in 1996 is when I first bought. I don't know if a lot of the maybe the older investors will remember this, but Carlton Sheets. And so I bought the Carlton Sheets program. And I bought it back in 1996. Didn't, I just studied it, didn't really do much with it. And then, I eventually wound up forming my corporation in 2006. And that's when I really kind of took that leap of faith. I had that analysis of paralysis, that's a real big thing. And it is a thing. And I had that. I was really overeducated within the real estate space, taking all the courses and, even signing up for like mentoring and things like that. But I eventually wound up starting it in 2006. Started off slow, and then I eventually got up to the point where I was buying 5 to 8 houses a month. And then when I would buy them, I'll back up. I got to the point when I bought my 10th house, I hit a brick wall where I couldn't go to. I had a really good relationship with the president of a local bank, and I was buying a lot of their REO properties and things like that. And then I just got to this point where I went to like my 10th, 11th, or 12th house. I forget what it was. I hit this brick wall where I couldn't buy it. They wouldn't loan me money. So that's when I started reaching out for private money and cultivating those relationships. And then ultimately, I had about $16 million to go out and buy, these REO properties or shadow properties. And like I said, I was buying between 5 to 8 houses a month, depending on the month. And then, I kind of inadvertently got into notes, like I said, inadvertently by on a property that I bought, and I took back a second mortgage, and I already made my money on the way that I structured first. I already made what I wanted, and that second was just kind of like a cherry on top, I guess, so to speak. And so I wanted to, I heard about selling these notes. I didn't really understand it. I know creating it, what it meant, but not really like the intricacies of actually creating a really good note. And then, there are ways that you have to create a really good note in order to make it sellable on the secondary market. And I didn't know that. And so I created the second mortgage, and I literally took a haircut big time in order to sell it. But I was fine with that because, like I said, I already made the money up front, and this was just kind of like, an extra, on top. And then I just ultimately wound up getting out of the note space, or I'm sorry, the buying and selling these properties, and started focusing on buying first. I only buy first mortgages across the U.S. I don't buy in New York, New Jersey, Cook County, Illinois, and Kentucky. And I've been doing notes ever since.
Yeah, that's great. We should probably just clarify for what a note is for, because some people will not have heard the term. I know Desi Arnaz and Patrick Franz,
Right.
right? And Desi phoned me one time to for help with something else, and so it says, "Well, what do you guys do?" So, "Oh, wow, well, we teach people about mortgage notes." And so I says, "What?" So
Yep.
now I know more about mortgage notes than I did before. So yeah, essentially, it's just a promissory note backed
Right.
up by some property, right? And I guess
Yeah.
you could be buying and selling mortgages that aren't; they're backed up with something else, right? But you're specifically looking at property. Yeah,
Yeah, and that's the thing, because when somebody tells you they're a mortgage note investor, that note is a kind of, it's an all encompassing word. So note is, not only the promissory note, but it's also the mortgage, the lien
yeah,
against the property. So and that mortgage is what gives me the right to foreclose on the
yeah,
individual, on the family, if they stop making their payments. But that's where, I think I'm a little bit different, especially in this note space. Foreclosure is the very last thing that I
yeah,
want to do on an individual. I try everything and anything to get them back on track by doing a loan modification. Um, I honestly try to help them. I buy a lot of I buy a lot of bankruptcies, Chapter 13s. And when I buy them, I look at, and you can get all this information on pacer.gov. When you look at the asset, it'll tell you whether it's BK7, BK13, and you can go up to pacer.gov and look at all that. And oftentimes what I'll do is I have that mindset, right, where I know they got into some type of situation. I look at their financial. It's public information. You can go and pull this information down. So if I'm bidding on that asset, right, I just don't look at everybody's bankruptcy. I specifically on the asset that I'm looking at. I'll pull that information down and I'll look at their financials, the financial information that they sent in. And oftentimes, what I'll do is I'll do a debt to income ratio to see what they can actually afford for that mortgage. And then if I wind up getting that note at that, at the price accounting for what I'm going to modify that for, I'll reach out to the borrower's attorney, the trustee attorney, and try to and start a loan modification that way. So, like I said, foreclosure is the last thing that I want to do. But that was a long roundabout way with the mortgage note
yeah.
explanation. Sorry about that.
Yeah, no, that's good. I know quite a few other people in the space, and that's their intention, is to help people either get into homes or stay in homes
Yep.
where they probably couldn't go to their bank and maybe get a mortgage,
Yep.
or they have and then they got into trouble, and banks tend not to have a lot of patience with it, so
Right.
yeah, so that's how. But it is something that can be misused. Like I'm sure there are people out there who are just looking through those same records, looking to
Yeah.
pick up bargains. But if you have the intention of helping people, and actually sometimes even it can work out better by helping them, because sure, they have trouble a month or two, but at the end of the series, they've paid more money,
Yep.
and it can work out, so it's a win-win situation, really.
Right.
Yeah. and
Yeah,
I,
and
I
I've got colleagues, and not that there's anything wrong with that, right? That they strictly buy the property, or buy this loan with the intention of foreclosing on the property because they want to take it back, because they're real estate investors, and they want to physically own that property and either fix it up, sell it, or keep it as a rental, or keep it as a rental with Section 8 tenants.
like Beth Dutton and Yellowstone. I don't know if you've been
Yeah.
watching that.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
I want your house. It's not for sale. Well, here's a check. Oh, get out of my house.
Yep. 100%.
Yeah, yeah. She's something. Anyway, no. So that's great. So when you're looking for I think on your webinar, you're having people who are people like you who are buying and selling notes, right?
Yep.
But I think you're also looking for some passive investors. Is that true?
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah. So what would that look like for somebody?
Well, yeah. What I have right now is I have a list. Like my website. You could go there and fill in your information to get on that list. If somebody's interested in, and not the Larry buys notes. It's just that's for but LJHinvestments
Okay.
.com.
Yeah.
And so you can get on the list. And essentially, what I'm trying to do is, I'm looking for private lenders, somebody that has money in their self-directed IRA. Or I actually had a funder that actually had money underneath his mattress, literally money, $100 bills underneath his mattress. And I'm looking just anybody that's looking for a either like a passive return, or if they want to be more active. I have programs like that. Or if they're looking for something like, hey, I'm interested in this note stuff, and I want to build my own portfolio, then I can help you with that too. So yeah, essentially what I'm envisioning is just doing basically like a monthly webinar,
Yeah.
to where people can just come in, watch, and then I'll go through a couple assets from A to Z, outlining like the numbers. This is what I'm looking at buying it for. Here are the possible exit strategies. With if things go sideways, we have a myriad of different avenues to recoup that money. But like I said, my main goal is on a non-performing note is to get them performing and hold it for 2 to 3 years, and then ultimately get it reperforming. If it is a contract for deed, turn it into a mortgage, makes it more valuable, and then sell that off to another note investor that would be looking for a steady return, or even selling it to the private individual, the funder. But yeah, just basically just doing like a webinar series, a monthly webinar series where from soup to nuts, we can just go over the asset.
No, that's perfect. Yeah, I have quite a few people connected that I met through mostly
Okay.
through going through Patrick and Desi, and then I ended up helping a number of their students who are now professional note investors themselves, and some of them also have passive investment offers. So I'm hoping that they connect to you guys and you can get
I
together.
appreciate that.
Yeah, so it's like almost like a mastermind more than a webinar.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so,
and that's the whole thing, because it's like I want to educate more so like the private investors, right? That there's just so many people out there. Just every time it seems like every time I wake up, there's always like a Ponzi scheme, or somebody's getting busted for fraud or whatnot. And so I just want to make sure that everybody understands what they're investing in, so they can physically look at that asset and go, my money is going to that. And so it's secured by real estate, and that's the great thing about it.
Yeah. If you have all of the paperwork, everything done properly, and then you shouldn't lose money. It might as you say, it might be an easier path than others, because
Right.
It's the same as if you're renting a property, you got 5 renters and they're absolutely perfect, and the fifth one burns the house down, right?
Right.
So on purpose. But
Right.
so
Well, what's really cool too is because this note space right now, we're in a I think it's almost like a 3 or a 4% default rate.
Okay.
So there's more performing notes than there are non-performing notes.
Yeah.
And so that's pretty good, right? So you get this note, and as long as this continues to go on, you're going to get a passive return. Either way, you'll get a passive return on your money.
Yeah.
And like I said, both scenarios, performing or not performing, they're both secured by that asset.
Yeah. No, that's perfect. And you've also mentioned it can be creative,
Right,
and personal, right? So
yep,
lots of things. So I guess I think correct me if I'm wrong, but if you've got somebody like somebody in the audience here is thinking they've got some money they want to, as I said, they found it under their bed or whatever, and that they're thinking of investing, is are they invited to come and just listen in for a while
Yeah,
and
100%.
just get an idea, because they'll get a I went to my son's PhD dissertation on high level mathematics, or where Stephen Hawking meets
Okay.
Einstein, and for the first while, then you gradually pick up a few words, and then okay, now it's starting to make a bit
Yep.
more sense. By the end of it, I could make a joke, but that's I really couldn't. It's beyond.
Oh, I get it. I understand.
Yeah, no, but so come out, and that's a good place to get a view, because you're going to go through real scenarios. This
Yeah.
is this property, this is what it is, this is what the assessed value is, this is what the mortgage note looks like, this is what, if everything goes well,
Right.
what the return will be. And
Yep.
like Desi and Patrick sometimes go, like sometimes the things that go really badly end up making them more money in the long run. you know
That's why you, you have to really 100% do your due diligence on these
yeah,
assets,
yeah,
just because the numbers make sense. I mean, I had one where I was looking at it, and the numbers look great, and then whenever I make my indicative bid on these assets, and then if they accept it, then I order my BPO and title, and I really start doing like the full due diligence. And the it literally took 2 weeks for the BPO to come back. I'm like, what in the heck is going on?
yeah.
And then the finally came back, and it came back extremely, like they were asking. I think he said the property was worth 90 or something, and it came back like at 30. And I'm like, what in the world? And a tornado blew through there.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
And so that's where you have to do your due diligence on these assets, and that's where I'm going to cover all of that, like on these assets. Now, first going through the like the first bidding process, I more than likely won't have the BPOs or the titles,
yeah.
but we'll just like high level. These are the numbers. This is what I was going to offer. If you're interested, if you want to fund it, you can fund it, or if you're just looking for it to be in your portfolio, this is what it's going to cost. And then once we present the offer, then we get that back. Then that's when we'll start doing the due diligence, ordering the BPOs, the titles, checking taxes, calling utility companies, all that stuff, just to verify that the value, looking at pay history, everything is solid.
Everything's solid, that's for sure.
Right.
And that's the thing for a passive investor. Basically, you just have an agreement with you. They're
Yep.
going to lend you the certain amount of money, and then you'll honor that, no matter how easy or hard
Right.
it was to get there.
Exactly.
Yeah. Like
Yeah.
Desi and Patrick say, is if you have a partner on something and it totally goes south, don't even tell them that it went south. Just to make sure they get their money, they're happy.
Yep.
You know? and
Yep.
and he said at the end of the day, there's you know well, they I think, but between the two of them, they only lost money on a couple of deals over the last 10 years, like a
Right.
very small percentage. And some were way more time consuming than they
And,
had really wanted.
and they are.
Yeah, but
Well,
others overall, and that's what they'll say is if you only have money to invest in one note, you're gonna get a good solid performing one. Like you don't want to be losing sleep over something.
right.
Yeah.
Well,
So
and that's the thing too. It's
yeah,
like I'll get a lot of people, especially with self-directed IRAs, where they want to build up their own portfolio, and and I have access to all these assets, right?
yeah,
And so they don't necessarily meet my yield to maturity, what I'm looking for, but
yeah.
they're fine with like something lower. And I'm like, okay. And typically, what I'll do is I'll find a good mortgage. I don't, I'm more staying away from contract for deeds,
Okay. Yeah.
buying mortgages, because especially if you're a new note investor, I would not buy a contract for deed. Just stick
Okay.
with mortgages, because the intricacies with the contract for deed. Well, one of the big things is when you buy that, your name is on that title. That it's
Yes.
just it's an installment sale, right? It's like a title for a car. that borrower does not get that deed until the end of the payments made. Well, your company is still on the hook for that. So if there's water, if there's some type of code violation,
Yeah.
whatever, you're on the hook for that. You have to pay it. You have to rectify it. You have to take care of it, and then you can take that money that you put out, put it onto the back end of the note, right? But I'm just, the older I get in my old age, the more I'm just kind of focusing on mortgages and also deeds of trust.
Okay. Yeah. So things that are a little more predictable.
Exactly.
Yeah. 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 I one day in one of the mastermind sessions they come up with like the banks will sometimes sell off a note at a huge discount, right?
Yep.
But if you look into the details, it may be on a property where from some technicality it's virtually impossible to foreclose on it.
Yep.
So you're at the mercy of you can't foreclose. So whoever's sitting on it has to actively do something about it. And usually the reason it's coming to you is because they just said they're not going to.
Yep.
So to the
Yep.
bank, right?
Yep. 100%.
Yeah, so you have to as you say, the due diligence, right? It may
Oh yeah,
may look
100%.
shiny at first glance, but when you look under the details, it's not. So
Yep, and that's where it's that due diligence is 100% important. You have to BPO title, check taxes. Look at the insurance, make sure it's on there. Look at the pay history. Look at the servicing notes. I
yeah,
request all of that. Just and you physically have to go through it. You got to read through it and see what exactly is going on.
yeah,
And and for me, like a performing note, if they've been paying on this thing for a while, the credit's really not that important to me. But when I'm buying a newly originated note, I want at least 10% down. It's got to be originated by a residential mortgage loan originator.
yeah,
They have to have a better score of 620 credit score. And the more money down, the better I feel. But really, like if it's just a 10% down, I like to at least see 2 to 3 months worth of payments
sure.
seasoning before I buy it. But I have other friends, colleagues that if it's originated by an RMLO, they'll just buy it right on the spot.
No, that's fabulous. Okay, so what's the best way for people to get a hold of you? Are you going to have some kind of registration, like you're collecting names, and then you're going to put out invitations to people for this monthly webinar?
Yeah, if they just go to lljhinvestments.com, they can just actually there's a little form on the right hand
Okay.
side of that
Yeah.
screen, and you can just fill that in, and then that'll just dump you into a back end bucket auto replier. And what I'll do is I'll just send out an email
Okay.
to that, so everybody will just get that notification.
Okay. Yeah, I put the website in there, and I'll sign up for myself. And so when I get those notices, I'll put out as a reminder that it's coming up.
Awesome, thanks,
Yeah.
Greg. I really appreciate that.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, thanks for coming on, and so this is a good opportunity for somebody who wants to get into the weeds, or if they just want a place to put their money in to get a return. Yeah.
Yep, for sure. And Greg, I really appreciate you having me on. It was a pleasure, and I had fun. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday.
You too. Thank you. See you guys.
Thank you. Bye.